Glyphosate, Ireland's best-kept secret. Frank, what exactly is Ireland's best-kept secret?
Ireland's best-kept secret is every person in Ireland in the last 5 to 7 years has got glyphosate in their urine, and no one is being told about it.
What is glyphosate?
Glyphosate is a herbicide and a registered broad-spectrum antibiotic. It was registered with the FDA in 2001. In Europe, the European Food Safety Authority didn't register it, and it's a complete cover-up by the EU.
But why is it so dangerous?
Because it's an antibiotic, it kills gut bacteria in humans and in animals. Professor Monica Kruger at Leipzig University has found that glyphosate is the main cause of Clostridium botulism, which has destroyed many dairy herds. Bob Peterson, a pig farmer, became bankrupt. The high levels of glyphosate in GMO soya resulted in deformities such as dual-sex gonadals with elephant heads.
So you actually did some tests for glyphosate in 2016?
It took me 2 years to get tests done. No one in Ireland would do it. Eventually I got a lab in Germany to do this. The biggest shock was my own urine sample was high, much higher than I was expecting.
Why do you think it was so high?
Because the third sample, a water sample from a new well we were using in the house, every 2 or 3 weeks they spray glyphosate on the side of the road, which is going straight down into the groundwater. This water sample results show that this well is the second highest contaminated in the country. But the question is, how many wells are already contaminated in Ireland?
Did you contact the EPA about this?
I wrote to Laura Burke, head of the EPA, to point out that this antibiotic was in my well, and naturally she did nothing about it, as the County Council are the biggest users of glyphosate in the country. They should be conducting baseline studies to show that this is increasing at an alarming level on a yearly basis. The government, Food Safety Authority, the EPA and the HSE are doing nothing about it apart from actually covering it up.
How would you sum up glyphosate?
Professor Don Huber of Purdue University has pointed out the dangers of glyphosate. He says that breast milk is 160 times higher in glyphosate concentration than your urine sample. So the worst case scenario is that currently every child born in Ireland in the last 5 to 7 years is getting glyphosate from day one. Females get breast cancer and males kidney failure. The hospitals will not cope with this. Non-organic infant formula is also contaminated.
But don't you have Origin Green and Board B quality assurance to prevent this?
Origin Green is pure poppycock, an expensive con job, wasting taxpayers' money. Quality assurance is baloney. It's another attempt by the EU Politburo and the Department Against Agriculture to make farmers compliant, so they aren't subservient and are now being forced to feed genetically modified and desiccated grain to their animals.
What foods contain this insidious ingredient?
In America, it is found as an ingredient in over 750 products. The highest is probably GMO Roundup Ready products, such as soya, maize and canola. The next highest is probably bread, beer and wine because of desiccation. Guinness was independently tested recently by Uplift, and it had 30 nanograms per mil, the highest I have seen. Vegetables, ripened fruit, meat, eggs and milk. It is now even contaminating organic food at low levels.
Why are GMO products so high in glyphosate?
GMOs were bred genetically to withstand high uses of glyphosate, which won't kill the GMO crop, but is now stored in the plant.
So what are some things we can do to reduce or prevent our intake of glyphosate and its prevalence?
Every farmer in Ireland is now being forced to feed genetically modified and desiccated grain to their animals. It is the worst food catastrophe that ever hit mankind.
That's significant.
Only the consumer can take prevention into his own hands and reverse a tragedy. Stop buying glyphosate contaminated food. If we eat organic food, stop using genetically modified maize and soya, stop using desiccated grain, we could reduce our levels by 80 to 90% immediately. Everybody in Ireland is now contaminated by glyphosate. This is due to the EU Chemical Agriculture Policy, the CAP. 80% of taxpayers' money is given to 20% of the farmers, and they're the ones using high levels of chemicals. 80% of what these farmers receive goes back to the pharmaceutical industry, and they have the audacity to call it sustainable. When GMO is legalised in Europe, it's the end of organic farming. Farmers will now become slaves to the pharmaceutical industry.
You were asked to be interviewed on a television program, Ear to the Ground. Why did it not materialize?
I mentioned that every person in Ireland now has glyphosate in their urine, and it's a registered antibiotic with the FDA since 2001. They said we can't say that. You have to tell people the facts. Because I wanted the interview unedited, they abandoned the interview, and instead they went ahead with a farmer who gets nearly 160,000 of a subsidy to spray Roundup, and they call this sustainable farming.